All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to everyone who is joining us live, and thank you also to everyone who's watching the recording. Appreciate you being able to make the time and for your continued interest in your students and financial literacy education, the resources that we've got available. I do apologize. It appears that my webcam is having a couple of little hiccups, so it's not actually giving me a preview. I'm not sure whether I'm coming through or not. But the The one thing I will ask you to do is if someone can just drop a message in chat just to let me know that the audio is coming through correctly, that would be absolutely fantastic. Oh, and there my camera has decided that it's going to join me and let me know that it's working. Excellent, Lisa. Thank you very much for the information. So for those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet or speak with at various conferences or the help desk that I man here at Financial Basics Foundation, my name's Damien Nicholson, and my role at FBF is essentially overseeing all the digital learning side of the charity. So if you have something that's occurring in the education space, um, I'm the person that you'll generally be talking to, whether you reach out to us or whether I see you at one of the various conferences or industry body events that I attend over the course of the year. So the focus of today, just to reframe up what we're going to be doing and bring the webinar description up, is what we're going to look at today in a really short and sharp little 30-minute burst is our cashed up resources, specifically looking at how they might be able to be integrated and implemented in next year's planning for those of you that are undertaking it. Excuse me. The other thing that I would encourage you to do as you're listening and taking in the information that's here is also have a look at where you might be able to trial the resources this year when you get to those like post-assessment periods where you've got that bit of downtime where the assessment's finished, but you've got time that you need to fill. And if you're looking to do it with something that's got some, real meat to it and to potentially throw something new to your students or contextualize and dive in more deeply to something you've already covered, I'm pretty confident, and I say this with knowing that other schools are doing it, that Cashed Up can do that for you as well. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And if you've got any questions for those of you who are here live, if you could please just use the little chat window in Zoom to put your questions in there, that would be greatly appreciated. It's just a lot smoother with a short time frame if we don't try and juggle the microphones as well. And that way I can read your question and I can answer it for everybody both in the live session and the recording. So if you haven't seen or heard anything about Cashed Up before, just in a nutshell, what Cashed Up is, and this is just on our website, so financialbasics.org.au, Cashed Up is a series of courses that we've developed that are on demand. They're freely accessible for Australian educators and their students, and they're a set of micro-credentials that are built off the Australian curriculum. So the way that we've gone about tackling Cashed Up is we've identified that there are areas of the Australian curriculum where there's details put out in version 9. So Cashed Up has been built from the ground up with version 9 of the Australian curriculum in mind, where there's areas of financial literacy education as cross-curriculum priorities and within different subject areas that young people are meant to have by the time they finish each of those years of schooling. Now, we understand as educators in FBF that not every student is in every class every day, nor does every teacher deliver every curriculum element throughout the course of every subject area. So the fact that there is some curriculum mapping that says that by the end of year 7, students should know all these things that are financial literacy concepts, and then the reality of what happens in those cross-curriculum priorities is very different. So what we've tried to identify is core areas of each of those year levels that we can tackle in a micro-credential that flow together and make sense for those developmental stages that young people sit at. So the way that these work, as you're looking at the catalog, the first course, they just go left to right, top to bottom. The first course that we publish in the catalog is Level Up Your Money Plan. So this is predominantly built off those year 7 elements of the Australian curriculum. Take charge of your spending. Apologies if I'm clearing my throat. There is backburning or something happening near my place in Brisbane at the moment, and the smoke for an asthmatic is causing me some wonderful times this afternoon. So I do apologize if I keep on clearing my throat. I'm sorry about that. The take charge of your spending is predominantly done to the year 8 level, then year 9 for get ready to work, 10 for start earning, and then build some wealth is our most recent one that we put out, which is predominantly around those senior year levels. And we are also having the works, what we're putting together for year 12 and beyond. So that just gives you the very quick overview of how the structure and underpinning methodology sits for the cashed up courses. But then when you're looking at these and considering which of these that you might be looking at for next year, I would really recommend that you actually take some time to hit those learn more buttons and actually dig into the details. I'll show you where those details are. Obviously, in a really short time frame of a session, we're not going to be able to dig into each course in a great deal of depth, but I will show you where to look. I'll show you what's there and sort of some of the things that we've taken into account in designing the courses and that hopefully you can take into account and that will help you as you're figuring out which of these courses you might like to implement. Once we get through that, I'll actually show you sort of some of the back end stuff and what the course looks like for the learners, what admin tools exist there for the teachers, how you can pull some of that rich data out. And I know data is king in education, and that you will no doubt have information that you need to be able to pull out of these courses to potentially report back on or show cause on why you should use it. I'll show you where those things are as well, and hopefully put your mind at ease where some of the technical elements and the curriculum elements can mesh together. So when you're looking through the catalog, hopefully is a really good starting point. You can look at the summary and the very brief rundown of what's in each of the courses, but it's in looking at the details where you'll be able to find out a lot more. From a practical sense, as also, before we jump into the little bit more detail, each of the courses also has, or each of the courses, Cashed Up itself has a learner guide and it also has a teacher guide, and they're all available in that educator hub. There's written versions on our website, and there's also video versions on our YouTube channel, which is just at Financial Basics. So I understand that you are definitely going to, if you're interested in this, you're definitely going to want to look at it a little bit more and get a little bit more hands-on on how it might work, and possibly create some test classes or join some of the holiday programs that we run that I'll cover right at the end of the session, which will give you a chance to join other teachers who are having a look at those resources and getting a little bit more hands-on with them as well. So looking at the courses themselves, and there's the teacher guide, and having a look at what's involved in them. So for each one of these courses, we follow the same structure and how it all works. If you've used any of our other electronic resources before, you'll actually see that there's similarities here in how you set up and use your classes with some of our other resources. We've done that deliberately to keep it familiar. For those of you that are brand new, I'm very much confident that you'll find it a really straightforward process to follow once you find a course or courses that you want to use. So the basic flow of what you're doing, and in terms of like your planning aspects, if it was me jumping in and looking at this for my classes, you've got the general overview that's there for the students and for yourselves to see what's in the summary of the course, the core sections that are going to be covered, and the brief summary of what's in those. But it's in the bottom two sections that the cashed up courses really shine in terms of what we're delivering for teachers. And in there we have, for every single course, so this is the first one, but for every single course, there is an educator support document, and there is also the curriculum mapping. The reason we've done both of those documents is that we understand that one of the big barriers of entry into financial literacy education, or covering of financial concepts in the classroom for teachers, is sometimes a lack of confidence or willingness to talk about money, or to talk about money topics, because they're feeling they're that non-specialist, they're not in their teaching area, and they don't really want to be talking about these subjects with students because they're not confident to do so. I'm paraphrasing a lot of research papers into a very brief statement there. So we understand that, and we're not looking to make you do a whole heap of PD to upskill yourself and learn more about these things if you don't want to, or you don't have time or capacity to do so. And we also want you to be able to leave these as a resource if you're away, or if you have someone else taking your classes, or you have an extended leave that someone else is coming in for that period and running these classes, and they may not be a specialist, or you might be one of the many teachers who's teaching out of area, which is becoming increasingly prevalent throughout Australia. So when you look through those documents, the support document and then the mapping, you'll see curriculum mapping first, because it's pretty straightforward to go through. In the curriculum mapping document, and this is Level Up Your Money Plan, we've put it all broken down so that you can quickly and easily jump through and see what areas of the Australian curriculum we have elements that are connected to within the course. And then you can also jump in and dig in more into those elements as well. You can also see the underpinning methodology we've done, and the skills and outcomes we're looking for students to have by the time they're finished. And we also connect to the National Financial Capability Strategy, which we're hoping the Australian government will invest some time and money into updating and revitalising. But it was last updated in 2022, and we were one of the bodies who were able to have some input in that latest round of that strategy. But the reason we use it and look to it is it also gives us really clear direction on developmental stages for students and what they should hopefully be able to do at different points in time. So then, as you go down the rest of the curriculum document, I'm not going to read a curriculum document to teachers. I just wanted to show you where and how we identify the different elements and the different elaborations and things that are included in that document, where you can hopefully have a look through as a starting point to see which of these courses is actually going to be the most beneficial to me. That would be my suggestion when you're looking at how you can embed it and integrate it next year. The other thing to have a look at is to keep in mind that these courses can be done anywhere at any time once you set the students up. And we have done an estimate based on our piloting and implementation of the programs as to how long it takes students on average to get through the course. Please do keep that in mind as you're doing your planning, that like any of these resources, when we provide an estimate, you're going to have a spectrum in your classroom of your learners, and you'll definitely have some learners who will be able to get that through that, I'm sure, faster than 6 hours, and you'll probably have some learners who take longer than that. Um, the benefit of the cashed up courses is they don't just have to do it in class. We have a lot of schools that are doing it in distance ed models. We have schools that are doing it as a homework only activity or an at home only activity. And the students have a set period of time to get the badge. It's almost one of those things of like any way you want to do it and deliver it, there's flexibility with cashed up to deliver it that way. Um, so what I would encourage you to do again, and I'd see there's a couple of people who've just come in, is have a look on our website, have a look through the course catalog of what's available there for cashed up, look through the descriptions and the documents to see which ones are the fit for you, and then take a little bit of an approach of that it doesn't necessarily just have to be done and be something that you have to try and find a way with a crowbar to slot it into your already really crowded curriculum. It could be something where you can find a time slot where it takes up the homework slot, or and in a life skills or pastoral care lesson that a lot of schools are implementing it in, or wherever the case might be, where you have a use case where there's a real value that you can utilize this program in. I'd encourage you to have a think about where it might sit for that as well. And then, so in addition to the curriculum mapping, as I mentioned, there is this teacher support document. And within that teacher support document, there is a whole range of different things that we've broken up in there, including some, I'm skimming down the like introductory information, but we've put some things in there that are suggestions on how you could potentially, if you're doing this in a classroom or hybrid setting, where you could create conversation starters, or we could use the tools that sit within the learning management system platform we've got to just implement a pre-built little, they call it a pulse, but it's like a little quiz that your students can complete that pops up, and they can do it live while you've got your lesson running. And then you can have offshoot conversations and discussions from that, which leads to some really interesting organic teaching and learning experiences. But we don't expect you to have to construct those. So we've got suggestions and templates there in place, and also like a little bit of info on how pulses work if you want to dig into that a little bit more. We tried to be basically give you everything you need to utilize these without having to develop a whole heap of new expertise and skills. We want you to be able to essentially follow the bouncing ball as a starting point, and anyone on your staff to be able to follow that bouncing ball. And then if you're someone who's got those skills and expertise and you wish to value add, you have that ability to do so as well with the cashed up courses as the kind of base of what you're getting the students to do. So please do keep that in mind, and please do check these out. And you'll see that in there's even things like questions that are marked by the system, but that potentially students might ask you why they're getting it wrong and why things aren't going in the right spot. You will actually have this on hand where you can just flick to that support document, look up the question, you'll be able to see the answer that they are supposed to be entering, and you can help the students get through and navigate that, because we understand that there could be some literacy issues that are standing in the way, and not every classroom that has those challenges has a dedicated teacher aide or support staff, and that you're trying to juggle that as well with your teaching. So we don't want to make it again where you have to learn a whole bunch of new stuff. You can if you want to. We would love that if more teachers are taking an interest in upskilling in financial literacy, but we don't expect that of you. So we want you to be able to take this resource and use it and get the most out of it and deliver it with your students and give them that exposure and those skills and knowledge and capabilities. So That's the methodology we've taken when we put these things together, and where we've got resources that aren't ours that we link to. We don't require students to create an account on any extraneous resources at all. We provide you that information and breakdown so you can consider those as well. So stepping back a moment before I go into some of the other courses, because we're at about the halfway point here, and I can see that we've sort of steadied out with a number of attendees in the live session. And you're in the recording, you may well have just jumped ahead to this chapter. But another thing that you'll need to be aware of with Financial Basics Foundation, especially if we're a new resource for you and you haven't utilized our stuff before, is on our website under the Educator Hub. Once you create a free account, or even before, if you want to peruse it before you make an account, there is a whole series of information there on the safe lists and whitelisting and cyber teamwork that we've been through over the last few years. And where we have had permission to publish that, I've got it published on our website. So in that safe list info, you may well find that in the different documents and downloads that are there, or if your state has given us permission to publish the outcome of our cyber security assessment, you'll see that it's there as well. So WA is the only one at the moment that we have that permission. But we have been through that with Tasmania, New South Wales, Queensland, WA, at this stage with government and private agencies. So hopefully on your intranet, you'll have information on Financial Basics Foundation. But if not, please do peruse that as a starting point. And if you find that there's stuff there that we don't have the information that you require on any of those documents, please reach out to me. All the contact details are on the website. Reach out and please let me know, and I will happily facilitate you getting the information you need to take part with our resources. That's an important consideration, I know, because it's all well and good for me to be saying that it's here, it's free, it's available, but you need to be, you need to tick your boxes and make sure that it's also usable for your students and you're comfortable with how we do everything that we do, which I'll talk to more as I show you the LMS, and I'll let you know the considerations, and letting you know my background's in education in Queensland and IT in Queensland school systems. So I am really cognizant of this, as well as having now had the benefit of working with several state agencies around cybersecurity. So I'm really cognizant of that student protection and privacy, and we as an organization are as well. So please do check that out. Just deviating at the halfway point and then coming back to the courses themselves. So as I mentioned, for each one of these courses, you'll find that those documents are there. For some of the courses, we've actually done extra resources and extra events that slot into those. So for instance, the Get Ready for Work actually connects really well to a video series that we did on Money IQ that segue into these wonderful little people, Mon and IQ, talking about earning and getting your first job. Where there's those connections, we actually had that in there as well. So this was our launch event. We had some fantastic questions coming in from all over Australia. We had Beck Sparrow involved with helping us get the people at the event and facilitating questions and letting us interact with a whole range of huge audience from all over Australia. And we put that information together as well. It matches up with the course. So we put it into those course resources for you as an extra resource that you can provide to students also, and you can look over yourself. And yeah, so each of the courses, I'm just skimming through them. You'll see that all of those things are there for every single one of them. And finally, for the Build Some Wealth. So when you've had that consideration, you've looked through the courses and you've checked out that there's a teacher guide that you can go to, or there's a teacher guide on YouTube that you can go to if you prefer that. And you can look through the chapters. There's a learner guide you can provide to your students. You can have a look at the learner guide that, oh, nope, that's not the one I want to show you yet. There's a learner guide that you can provide to your students so that you don't need to develop a whole lot of expertise on our system. These things are all there to guide and help you and them through this process. For the students, literally, once you set them up, they just have to follow those first 4 bullet points and they'll be able to access our resources. What that looks like, though, is as a flow. So you've come through, you've looked at the catalog, you've chosen a course that you want to set up and use with your students. I'm just going to go and do the first one. So you've read through this, you're on, fantastic, yes. My grade 12s may not, this is literally an example that I did in a training session with schools. My grade 12s might not necessarily be in grade 7, but I actually want them to learn some of these skills and knowledge that's in this course. I am literally telling you words of another teacher here. So I'm actually going to get them to do start with Level Up Your Money Plan, and I'm going to see how many of these I can do over the course of the year in their life skills lesson. So I come in here, I start with this course, I put the class name in, I choose the year level, I choose the best fit for a subject or other if it's something different, where I'm intending on using it, and then I hit activate course. As soon as you do that as a teacher from a flow perspective, your course will come up here. This is just to let you know that it was successful. It will also sit forever while you've got an active course. It'll sit in here in the cached up section of your educator hub, and it's just in the course management portal. So you can always go back to every single class activation you've got. You do not have to keep going to the catalog to see your courses. You can if you want to, but I recommend saving your sanity and actually using the hub. So once you've got that there, you're now set up. You hit teacher dashboard and it'll take you through to the teacher area where you can actually start setting up your class. Now, I chose this one deliberately because these are all FBF people. So I'm quite happy to use this course. But if I was going to be the teacher, I could go in now from a flow perspective, just to give you the very much in a nutshell view of what you can see and do. And then you, by all means, please have a look at the teacher guide that goes through these steps in way more detail if you decide to use them. But I can now add my students. I can either do their email addresses individually, or I can use the bulk enroll template that's set up here. That's up to you. I will say, if you're using the template, please follow the steps in the video, because the formatting of the template's really specific. Some schools have tried to create their own, and there's metadata in the template that means you can't just make it sort of look the same and then throw it in. You actually need to copy the details of your students into the iQualified template, into the learning management template. I'm sorry about that, not my creation, but I have learnt that from experience. So just please follow the steps in the video. I explain it in more detail there. But yeah, I could do the bulk upload, or I can do individual. I add the students in. As soon as I add them in, that gives your students permission to access the course. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is not because I don't think you can add students to a course, is because it's important to understand how this little aspect of how this tool works, especially when you're considering it for implementation in 2026 into your subject areas. So once you add them here, what you've essentially done is you've given your students access and permission to join this course. How they actually join it is that they need to make an account, a free young person account on our website. So they need to sign up. They need to put their details in as a young person. We, like all of our resources, we collect the minimum viable amount of information we need in order to set them up with a micro credential. And that's why they have to have an account, because every single one of these courses comes with a digital and physical micro credential that they can link to and use. And it's validated for 12 months from the point that they get it. So we want them to be able to use the modern resource. We want them to be able to put this in digital portfolios and resumes and signatures and however they wish to use it. But we want them to be able to have it as a living, breathing thing that they can use and call to, that shows some value of what they've done. So once you do that and they do that, in their young person hub, in their course portal, I'm in my teacher, so you can see my teacher ones, but rather than jump out and jump between my logins, if I was a young person, I'd be seeing the courses that I'm a learner in, and I'd have a dashboard to hit the button on, and it takes me across into the course. So the instant that you add them and enroll them in the course and they have an FBF account, they immediately have access to it. I'm mentioning this for consideration, that just be aware that if you're getting set up, make sure you take that into account, that as soon as you add them and give them permission and they make an FBF account, they'll be able to see and access those resources. So then from the teaching side of things, that once you have them up and running, if you have multiple classes, you can see all of your courses in this. Again, this isn't a 30-minute in-service in the iQualify LMS. It's just to give you an idea of what you can do, what you can see. And I wanted to show you that there's all of these different elements in here that you can pull out to get insights and data on your students. If you need to utilize that or send it anywhere or do anything with it, you have the ability to get a whole lot of information and really rich data out of it if you need to. You can also see your learners' progress. You can award them badges or revoke the badge if you hit it by accident. The system will automatically award it when they meet the metrics that are in the course overview. But you can also, we factor in the fact that sometimes there's glitches and sometimes students might muck something up, and you can go, hey, no, they actually need to get this badge. They've just stuffed something up that they can't undo. I'm going to give them the badge regardless, because we want to give you that autonomy to manage your classes with our courses as the basically the core content that sits at the bottom underneath it all, and then you can add as many layers and as much richness on top of that as you would like to, and as you are comfortable doing as well. I did mention that I was going to circle back to the LMS that we use. So the LMS that we use is from a New Zealand company. It's called iQualify. And the reason we chose that one is because it has all of the features that we wanted to have in the LMS. You might find that it has like a bit of a clean and simple look to it. That's the aesthetic and design that they've done with that LMS. But what it lets us do, and what if you want to dig into the privacy policies and the data management policies that we have, what it lets us do is, being a New Zealand organization, we can now have all of our data and data centers that we manage ourselves, they all sit in Australia. And I know there'd be many of you who'd be aware of every state and territory, including yours, has a mandate that the data, where possible, sits on Australian servers and within Australian services. So we're really cognizant of that, and it was a big part of our decision making in choosing the LMS that we did. So I am conscious of time, with a little over 3 minutes left, and wanting to give you a chance to kind of process some of that and throw some questions my way. I am just going to go back to the flow one more time for those who, I can see the numbers are changing in the live chat, just to quickly circle back while some questions are coming through, if you have any. As you're considering this for implementation next year, the cashed up courses are a really flexible on-demand resource. You get to them by going into the catalog, select the item from the cashed up course catalog. It sits in everything under the Educator Hub in the cashed up submenu. Have a look through the information that's there. See what's, hopefully something has piqued your interest from what you've seen here today. Have a look through those courses. Have a look through the way the mapping is broken down for your subject area, even if you're just looking for particular codes or comments. If you're looking for stuff and that, sorry, if you're looking for particular elements and you're in a state or territory that doesn't use the Australian curriculum, please just look for the keywords, because being a small independent charity, we work from the Australian curriculum. We don't customize our mapping for all of the different flavors of the Australian curriculum that different states and territories implement. So please just do keep that in mind, that if you're not strictly on vanilla Australian curriculum, just do a keyword search through the document to look for the content and topics and mapping, and get through it that way. I'm sure you do that already. I'm sure you have other resources that are the same, but just in case you don't, or you hadn't heard that solution before, there it is. That's my suggestion to you. And yeah, please do have a look through. When you find the ones that you like, please do check them out. Create an account, even if it's just a test activation, and see what it all looks like. And if you're sort of on the fence, or you want to have a look a little bit more and see what it's like potentially from the learner side of things, or just be able to dig into the content a bit more, in the young person and parent hub of our website, and also in the educator one, there's a link to this thing called the Holiday Hustle. And this is where I'll finish. So every school holidays, we as an FBF team run one of these courses for Cashed Up, and we just go to a different course each holiday period. So we're currently up to Start Earning. So we're up to the 4th Holiday Hustle. In January next year, we'll be doing the Summer Holiday Hustle, and we'll be going into the Build Some Wealth as the next one along. But for this one, the start and end dates are there. All you need to do is have an account on our website, and literally you hit the button, it adds you to the course, and then you'll get an email from me on Friday when the course starts to go, hey, the Holiday Hustle started. Please go and get into it and start doing the course. And then you have through until the 13th of October to get it finished. And that gives us from the start of the first school holidays in Australia through to the last school holidays. And I currently have half a dozen teachers who are doing this holiday hustle, and every single holiday hustle, I've generally had around 20% of the people doing the hustle have been teachers who are doing the course and also checking it out to see what it all looks like, to see if they want to do it with their students. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And if nothing else, if you look at that going, yeah, this is really good, I can't do anything with it this year, which wasn't the intent of this webinar, but you can send this link to your students through your newsletters, through your socials, and let your community know. And students and families and parents can go and jump on it themselves and get into this course and do some financial literacy and capability building over the holidays, like right now. And that is where I will finish up, because I am conscious of the time. I will give one more call for questions. If anyone has any, I'll hang around for a couple of minutes But I am conscious that we have just hit that 30-minute mark of what we had allocated for the webinar. So while I give that final chance for questions to come in, I hope this helped. I hope this gives you a bit of a snapshot of Cashed Up and shows you where to go and look for that really important consideration of, is this free resource a good fit for me? How can I implement it for next year? And I would really please encourage you, if you're not sure, if there's something you're not quite certain how to make it fit, reach out to me, because every other day I am working with a school or a teacher or a department, and we're looking at things around how we can fit our resources in and implement them with both this year and next year with schools, especially those who are transitioning or just transitioned over to version 9 of the Australian curriculum. We've got a bunch of stuff that can hopefully help that process along. All right, well, that looks like we've given it till a couple of minutes past 2 o'clock. I will wrap up the webinar there. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact us via the website, the info@financialbasics.org.au. And yeah, if there's anything at all, I'm just trying to think of what else I can add as we wrap up. If there's anything at all I can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to respond. I'll also put my contact details in the description of the recording. So when you get the email that has the recording, you'll have my details in. Actually, I'll put in the email, sorry, of the recording, not the description of the recording. So you'll have my direct contact details. I encourage you to reach out to me directly. It'll save you a trip through the help desk, especially if it's an education matter. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate your interest in the financial literacy education. Thank you for doing what you're doing for your students. Thank you for championing this. And yeah, please help spread the word. We're a small independent charity. We don't have a massive marketing budget. So people like yourselves taking an interest and spreading that word is absolutely huge for us. And I hope you see some value in what you can do with Cashed Up in 2026. All right. I look forward to speaking with some of you soon. Thank you.